The Clock Trust is an interesting organisation that tries to give young people creative opportunities by allowing them to use their hands and eye coordination. So they generally take things apart and then explore what to do with them. The Clock Trust has its own museum now and a range of clocks, and those clocks really try to make you think about what time is and how it relates to your life. So we're interested in the concept of time rather than the clocks, which are either mechanical or electrical. The concept of time is an interesting one. Actually, we could have 1,000,000 clocks in this room and we can't alter it, which means we're not measuring time, because when you measure something, you actually take a measure of it and you alter the measurement, and we don't do that with time. What you do when you, as a child, you realise that the sea that you live in is related to time, you realise that there are certain grooves that the universe has, and one of those is time itself. And actually, if you study physics, what you're doing is you're finding these grooves which we can't change. In the same way, the pendulum will only do one beat for one length of the pendulum. And actually, if you use an organ pipe, you can blow down it, it will do one note, and these are the grooves, and you stumble them across them, but they're actually the laws of the universe that you're discovering. The other big question that we get when people come to the centre, because we're called the Time Machine, they're considering that we actually travel in distance in our car. Could we travel in time, backwards and forwards? Whether you could believe it could exist, we at one point we didn't believe we could go any faster than 26 miles an hour and we would explode, and now we go into cars at 200 to 300 miles an hour. But the actual grooves that we know about, these physical laws, state that actually we can't do time travel as such. Now, we've either got the rules wrong or we've not looked at it correctly, but that doesn't discontinue the fact that it could actually happen. It's just that with our current belief system at the moment, it doesn't seem like it's possible. But in the same way, in the same breath, 100 years ago, we wouldn't have thought we'd have got to the moon, and we've done that. The other huge influence, and it will make a lot of sense while I'm interested in clocks as well as time, is my granddad was retired from the submarines, and he mended clocks to make a living after he retired from the submarines. And he wasn't very good at it, actually, and he always had loads of broken clocks that he couldn't mend, and they got boxed up and given to me to play with. And I would play with them for ages and ages. So rather than me having things like Action Man and kites and things like that, I was fiddling around with clocks, undoing them, putting them back together, working out how they worked. You then realise that I'd looked at the mechanical side of time and also the emotional part of time as well, about our experience, about personal time and how it affects us. And then realised that actually there was two things: time that we measure and time that we experience, and realising that actually there was a spectrum of the meaning of time. Nan and us used to do this on the Saturday afternoon, and we'd go back to dinosaur times, or we'd go back to the First World War, and I'd look at her and think, well, this person who was born in 1912 had seen a lot of time, and it was really important for me to explore what she'd experienced, because I wouldn't ever experience that. And that's what we call now living history. So if you do get an opportunity to talk to somebody of older years, you are time travelling, because you're going back in time, in their time and their memories. Now, we've got some really big challenges in the future, and young people think that all the mountains have been climbed and we've reached the pinnacle of what the human race can do. We're yet at the foothills of our understanding of how everything works and the meaning of time. And we probably know less than we know. And we feel quite satisfied that we can predict certain things. But actually, the universe is incredibly complicated. Time. Good-natured time and all our lives attends, for each to use but few to comprehend. Each living thing has its allotted span, age after age, since time began. When we are young, the time goes so slowly, by day seems unending, we shall never die. When we are old, years chase after year so swiftly that time seems to disappear. Old age to youth seems far away. Youth to old age was just the other day. Time there to serve or disregard, fleeting in health, dragging when life is hard. Time can be killed or else prolonged for thought. Time is most precious when it is running short. Whether you are time well spent or misapplied, happy the man who feels time's on his side.